in the last episode we had did, you seemed fairly confident that Iran was going to strike back at Israel. Do you still believe that?
I do. I I've heard other statements from Iran, that they will in fact, retaliate. I guess some people are arguing that maybe, they're not talking about a direct retaliation, but something else. But I believe that they will. And Israel has said that it's going to strike again. So there's just no question that we're going up the escalation ladder.
Wait, so Israel says it's going to strike again after this so-called successful attack by them?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a sign that it did not achieve its objectives, and they're going to try again. That's not how they're putting it. In one case, they actually are justifying it by the assassination attempt on Netanyahu. Remember, I guess there was a few programs ago, I was saying that, speculating that it could be a false flag. Well, it turned out not to be a false flag. Hezbollah took credit for it a couple days later, and but at the same time, I also pointed out, which seemed very suspicious to me, that they immediately attributed it to Iran. And they were going to use it as some kind of justification, and that's what they're doing now. They say, well, because of this, we have to now launch another strike against Iran.
Yeah, I was asking that question because I was wondering if you thought that it was a wise move for Iran to retaliate.
Well, I think they just have to. It's clear that they've been very reluctant to get into this war, but there's really no other way to deal with Israel. It's funny how Israel and the West will talk about their adversaries as only understanding force. Again, I think it's a case of projection. They're the ones that only understand force. They don't understand diplomacy. They don't know how to use diplomacy. When the other side, like Russia or Iran, does something, a gesture of goodwill, shows obvious restraint and hopes that restraint will be reciprocated, the West or Israel always immediately sees weakness. They see blood in the water and they attack again. And I think both Russia and Iran they have learned that they simply, that they have to set aside the diplomacy. Again, like Pezeshkian, attempted diplomacy during the first couple months of his term. And it failed. He found out that, Israel just kept on assassinating people, and the U.S. Lied to him. And so he's just like, okay, he's learned the lesson that his predecessors have learned. You just can't, it's unfortunate. That's the way things should be resolved. But with these people, these countries, you cannot do that. These governments. Like this recent, it would be a mistake to consider like the Israeli attack at retaliation. It was another attack on Iran. It's Iran that's retaliated against Israel. Because, Israel attacked Iran again and again over the course of actually many years, and then especially during the last several months. And finally, Iran responded. And so further attacks really by Israel can't be described as retaliations. They're just continued attacks. And I think that so it's important and the fact that they're attacking shows that Iran has not yet established effective deterrence, and they need to do that. So that's one thing they need to do. And also, looking at it in kind of a more practical, realistic sense, I think already Iran has demonstrated that it has the ability to hit Israel and, to do real damage to it. And Israel has shown itself to be a paper tiger. So why not? Okay, well, we're gonna have to establish deterrence, and we can't because it looks like Israel really can't do anything.
Right. Well, I guess why not? Because we don't want a huge, wider regional war where the United States gets pulled in.
Yeah.
Other powers do. Obviously, Israel does want that. Iran doesn't. And you can say that diplomacy isn't an option, but it seems that Israel's doing a good job of kind of destroying itself. As it goes on, the more it does, It hasn't achieved any of its military objectives. Not in Gaza, not in Lebanon. There will continue to be more and more unrest. I heard that up to 1 million Jews have left Israel already, which is a large proportion. If we think about, I think population of Israel is around 9 million. 2 million of those were Arabs, so
Right.
that's a sizable part,
Sure.
close to 15%. So if Iran just sort of waits, you could see that Israel's also proven itself to be kind of impotent. You said that this was a watershed moment when they launched this attack on Iran. They tried, and they really weren't that successful. Now the veil has been lifted, and maybe Israel can just flail around, and the more it tries to do, the more it's actually harming itself, and it can sort of self-implode, and we can avoid a wider regional war. Do you think that's possible?
That's possible. No, I know you're putting forward I think a reasonable analysis, a very reasonable analysis, and you may be proved right. Maybe Iran will hold off. We'll see that there's really no need to. But I guess at the same time, it looks clear. It's clear to me that Israel is going down, has not given up. Its plans to attack Iran. It's already stated, that it's going to attack Iran again.